In our discussions with unbelievers, and in particularly with Muslims, very often, or I believe the starting point very often should begin with the nature of God. Both Muslims and Christians claim that they believe in God, and both claim they are monotheistic. So what do we mean by monotheistic? Well, mono meaning one, and God, well, meaning, or theist, meaning one God. And so Jews, Christians, and Muslims all claim that they believe in one God. Well, that needs to define, what do we mean? And that brings us to what is God like? How do we understand? With Unitarians, which would include Muslims and today's Jews, and I'm using that for a phrase for a specific purpose, they mean or assume one person, that God is not only one in his being, but he is one in his person. When you talk to Christians, we assume that when we talk about one God, that God is one in his being or his essence, and three in his persons. And we make a distinction between the being of God and the person of God. And I think there's a lot of confusion, especially with our Muslim friends, because they do not make a distinction between the two, between the being of God and the person of God. And so very often you'll see the argument 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. And of course, logically, 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. But there is here an error in category, and I see it constantly, all the time. And I try to point out that you are making an error of category. You are confusing the being or essence of God, that is who God is ontologically, with the person of God. Well, let's look at a question that I came across this morning on Facebook, or a statement. It wasn't a question, it was a statement about the love of Allah. So I'll just pull this up for you, and it says Allah loves, and it tells all the ones whom Allah loves. And it's really not important for a discussion, but it is important to look at basically this statement, Allah loves. Well, I have to ask, or it begs the question, is where does Allah's love come from? Does it stem from Allah? Well, I would assume my Muslim friends would say yes. So let's go back and discuss who God is. What is his nature? What is it? When we talk about God, we talk about one absolute being who is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-understanding, and that he does not change, that there is no change to his to any of his attributes, and that he is not dependent upon his creation. So let's ask our Muslim friends the question, when he says Allah loves. Notice it doesn't say Allah is love. That's a statement peculiar to Christianity. We can say God is love, but nowhere in the Quran do we read that Allah is love. Now we read that Allah is merciful and compassionate, and of course we have the statement from our Muslim friend that Allah loves. But notice he did not state that Allah is love. So let's go back before the creation of all things and ask the question, who did Allah love? Remember, he's all alone. Before the creation of all things, he's all alone. Does this mean for Allah to love that he had to create something in order to love? If that is the case, then that means Allah is contingent on his creation to exercise one of his attributes. This poses I think a real dilemma for our Muslim friends here, because there is change in the very nature of Allah. I have to ask, before the creation of all things, what was Allah doing? To whom was he speaking? There's no one there. There's nothing there. Whereas the Christian can answer this question quite easily. If you are a Trinitarian, this question is not difficult to answer, because we see that there is eternal communication and eternal love between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Unitarian being, this is absolutely impossible. It is becomes illogical. Anyways, this is just a short question. This is the question that I have posed to my Muslim friends, and we'll just wait and see whether or not we get a meaningful response. Unfortunately, I don't get any. I get, maybe a rolling on the floor laughing, or a laugh out loud and LOL, or they try to change the subject and talk about Paul, or that the Trinitarian doctrine came in, at the Council of Nicaea, but they will not answer the question directly. So we'll just pose the question directly. Before the creation of all things, who did Allah love? What was he doing? And whom was he, who was he communicating with? Let's see if we get an answer. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.